Flying Miss Pelosi. That should be the name of the documentary they make in 20 years about the catalyst event that started World War III. And for those who don't know, Nancy Pelosi got a wild hair up her ass and decided to take a Oriental tour. And I don't know if you can still use the word Oriental, but I'm just using the vocabulary of Nancy's generation. So, according to NPR, Pelosi said in a statement, she is leading a congressional delegation to Singapore, Malaysia, South Korea, and Japan to discuss trade in COVID-19 pandemic, climate change, security, and democratic governance. So at the time of this article, July 31st, Nancy had not yet confirmed publicly that she was going to Taiwan. But that didn't stop the Chinese Communist Party from making a preemptive phone call to former Vice President Biden on Thursday, July 28th. And when I say preemptive, I mean threatening phone call. Reuter writes, "Don't play with fire over Taiwan. China's Xi warns in call with Biden." Scroll down here a little bit. Chinese leader Xi Jinping warned against playing with fire over Taiwan in a call with U.S. President Joe Biden on Thursday, highlighting Beijing's concern about a possible visit to the Chinese-claimed island by U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. "Those who play with fire will perish by it." China's foreign minister quoted Xi as telling Biden in their fifth call as leaders, quote, "It is hoped that the U.S. will be clear-eyed about this." Xi said Washington should abide by the One China principle, and stressed that China firmly opposed Taiwan's independence and outside interference. Biden told Xi U.S. policy on Taiwan had not changed and that Washington strongly opposes unilateral efforts to change the status quo of undermining peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait, the White House said. So you would think after that phone call, Biden, being the leader of the strongest world power, would have said, "Fuck those commie bastards. We don't bow down to threats from terrorists, nor do we bow down from threats from authoritarian Chi-Coms." You think he would have said that? Nancy's going to Taiwan. That's not what happened, though. Before the phone call on July 20th, according to NBC, Biden said to reporters, "The U.S. military officials believe it's not a good idea for House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to visit Taiwan at the moment." Well, the Financial Times reported, "The White House is extremely concerned that her visit could spark a crisis across the Taiwan Strait. Biden has sent top officials, including National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, to explain the risk, but that has been complicated by the fact that Congress is independent and he has no formal power to block her visits." So, they were already on the fence about visiting Taiwan to begin with. So, several days after that phone call, the Biden administration was so worried that they had John Kirby, who was the press secretary of the Department of Defense, come out and make a public announcement to show China that they are not kidding when they say President Biden has no jurisdiction to stop Nancy Pelosi from visiting Taiwan. And here's a clip.
"I want to reaffirm that the Speaker has not confirmed any travel plans, and it is for the Speaker to do so and her staff. So we won't be commenting or speculating about the stops on her trip. We have been clear from the very beginning that she will make her own decisions and that Congress is an independent branch of government. Our Constitution embeds a separation of powers. This is well known to the PRC, given our more than 4 decades of diplomatic relations. The Speaker has the right to visit Taiwan, and the Speaker of the House has visited Taiwan before without incident, as have many members of Congress, including this year. The world has seen the United States government be very clear that nothing has changed about our One China policy, which is, of course, guided by the Taiwan Relations Act, the 3 joint U.S. PRC communiques, and the 6 assurances. We have said, and we have repeatedly said, that we oppose any unilateral changes to the status quo from either side. We have said that we do not support Taiwan independence, and we have said that we expect cross-strait differences to be resolved by peaceful means. We have communicated this directly to the PRC at the highest levels, including as recently as last week in the phone call between President Biden and President Xi. The National Security Advisor, the Secretaries of State and Defense, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff have also made this very clear to Beijing in a half a dozen recent high-level conversations. Put simply, there is no reason for Beijing to turn a potential visit consistent with long-standing U.S. policy into some sort of crisis or conflict, or use it as a pretext to increase aggressive military activity in or around the Taiwan Strait.
Yep, there we go. Seem a little worried. No, I'll say this. I don't like Nancy Pelosi. I think she's a snake. But she has some balls to openly defy Biden and the military and say, fuck Xi, his threats are meaningless. I'm going anyways. You got to show some respect there at least, you know? Now, I don't think Nancy is headed to Taiwan for congressional delegation, as she says. All the things she listed on her agenda could have easily been talked about over the phone or Zoom. I think she used the Oriental tour for congressional delegation to hide her ulterior motive, which is having a secret business conversation with TSMC. Now, the kind of conversation you don't want to have over the phone, the kind of conversation, you do in person behind closed doors. And for those who don't know, the TSMC is Taiwan's biggest semiconductor manufacturer, and they are about to build a brand new chip plant here in the U.S. We just passed the Chips and Science Act, which will provide domestic semiconductor manufacturers with $52 billion in subsidies. Now, Biden will be signing that act in this coming week. Is it coincidence? Anyways, conspiracy theories aside, people, China is not happy. The day before Nancy was to arrive in Taiwan, China started releasing videos of missile strikes. Now, and the Daily Mail writes, let her go to Taiwan, but pray for her. China's state media sends grim warning to Senator Nancy Pelosi, and Red Army releases video of missile strikes ahead of trip tomorrow night, as Taipei says prepare for war and cancels military leave. The Chinese People's Liberation Army has issued another warning to Nancy Pelosi ahead of her expected trip to Taiwan, with the video simulating a missile strike, aircraft carriers advancing, and fighter jets in formation, and a stern warning from the state media. Now, I have to say, it's actually a well put together video. The video that they released. So let's give that a watch. Pretty dope music too, man. I'll say this. The Chinese know how to spread propaganda, and they know how to do propaganda well. This makes me want to go join the army. Jesus. I think we're done there. I think we got the gist of it, huh? Not bad, Chi-Coms. Not bad. But Nancy arrived safe and sound in Taiwan, but China made sure her arrival and stay would not be a pleasant night. Before she touched down, there were reports of a bomb threat, as reported by Newsweek. Nancy Pelosi bomb threat at Taiwan airport sparks investigation. And not too long after Nancy landing, the Chinese sent 21 warplanes into Taiwan's airspace. Some would say that's considered an invasion, but Business Insider writes, 21 Chinese warplanes, including more aircraft, get rid of that, flew through Taiwan's air defense zone on the day of Pelosi's visit. Wow. Throwing out the stops, man. If I was Nancy, I'd be like, Jesus, what did I do? What did I do? Is her visit really worth the possible consequences? That's the question, right? No, we're definitely playing with fire. Well, Nancy is, at least at the behalf of American citizens. I'm not about bowing down to the Chi-Coms, but I do think there's a more tactful way of upsetting them, without popping off World War III. Just saying. But some might have differing opinions, but fortunately, Nancy didn't become Americans' Franz Ferdinand, which a lot of people thought. Tim Pool was talking about it when this was going on, saying that she could very well become the Franz Ferdinand that starts off World War III. And for those who don't know, Franz Ferdinand was the man who died that started off World War I. But after her stay in Taiwan, she headed to her last stop, which was Japan, and is now back in the U.S. And this brings me back to my initial question. Was her surprise visit to Taiwan, after Biden and military leaders warned her it was a bad idea, worth the consequences? Well, I would say no. Mirror writes, Russia vows to fight for China if it goes to war with Taiwan, sparking World War III fears. A senior Russian senator has said Russia will come to China's aid if there is an escalation with the U.S. over Taiwan. Vladimir, don't know how to say his last name, hopes the two countries can help each other militarily. Not good. You see what's been going on in Ukraine and what Biden, started doing with tariffs on their economy to drive it down. Drove them straight into China's arms. People they don't ideally click with, they are willing to help out now. Even if that means that they might get betrayed in the long run, it's probably better to side with your enemy to fight a greater enemy and then deal with the consequences later. That's what Russia's thinking here. And it's not a good thing. Not only are we fighting a proxy war with Russia and Ukraine, we could now be in a full-scale war with Russia and China because Nancy Pelosi felt the need to prove something. Now, in my opinion, if war breaks out in the Pacific theater, you can guarantee Ukraine gone. It's gone. I don't think Europe can handle a full-scale war with Russia on their own. Our military forces will be tied up trying to protect Taiwan because Taiwan is way more important to us than Ukraine. Ukraine doesn't mean shit. Ukraine's just a proxy war. That place has semiconductors. That place also has a company that we're going to bring over to the United States to help us start getting semiconductors going. It's like, I don't give a fuck what anybody says. I don't. Everybody's like, well, no. I'm like, no, fucking Ukraine doesn't mean shit to us. They're a failed nation that needs the help of somebody else. Fucking Taiwan has their own military force and has been training and ready for this attack. It happened to Ukraine, and now they forced everybody military age to come fight. As much as the media would like you to say, oh, everybody rised up and continued the fight in Ukraine, came to the aid of Ukraine. It's like, no, they forced people to come out and fight. And that's a conversation for another time. But The Independent writes, Vladimir Putin, ally, warns London will be bombed first if World War III breaks out. It's clear that the threat to the world comes from Anglo-Saxons, Andrei Gurulov said. London will be the first strategic NATO target to be hit by Russian missiles should a third world war erupt, a close ally of President Vladimir Putin has claimed. Speaking on Russian state TV, Andrei Gurulov, an MP who sits on Moscow's Defense Committee, described how a possible full-scale invasion of NATO's Baltic state members would work. Mr. Gurulov, a former military commander and member of the pro-Putin United Russia Party, said, "Will destroy the entire group of the enemy's space satellites during the first air operation." Jesus, dude. And if that doesn't scare you, this should. Chinese missiles land in Japan's waters after warning that miscalculation during Taiwan military drill could spark war. Outraged Tokyo lodges complaint over Beijing's live fire maneuvers. I'd be pissed off too. The article continues to say, Chinese missiles fired towards Taiwan have landed in Japan's water, Tokyo says, as Beijing ignored warnings that a miscalculation could spark war to hold its largest ever live fire drills around the island. So it sounds like fucking Japan didn't hold their word, but whatever, I understand. 5 out of 9 ballistic missiles launched by China landed in Japan's exclusive economic zone. The country's defense minister said today, adding that he had lodged a protest with Beijing. The island of Yonaguni, I think that's how you say it, which belongs to Japan, sits around 70 miles off Taiwan's eastern coast in Japan's economic zone. Waters in which it has special rights, covers about half of the distance between the two. China has fired ballistic missiles at the neighbor before, but this is the first time they have landed in the Japanese zone. And I will say this, I don't think that was a miscalculation. I think that was China saying, hey, look at me. The article continues to say, Taiwan says China fired a total of 11 ballistic missiles into the waters off its southern, western, and northern eastern coast today, in several slows that begin around 2 p.m. local time and lasted until 4 p.m. Beijing also scrambled fighter jets and sent some of its most up-to-date warships to surround the island in what state media said is a rehearsal for an invasion. The drills are due to last until Sunday and are due to including long-range bombers and hypersonic missiles. China's 2 aircraft carriers are also holding position nearby. American forces, including the USS Ronald Reagan aircraft carrier, which is forward deployed with the Pacific Fleet, are thought to be lurking nearby, while missile tracking spy planes have been sent to watch over the drills. Xi Jinping announced that exercises using U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's trip to the island, which took place from Tuesday and Wednesday, as an excuse. She is the most senior politician to visit since Newt Gingrich in 1997, but her trip came shortly after the Senate delegation first visit drew no response. So, here's the thing, man. China should be worried. What keeps, and we'll get into this later too, because I brought this up, but what keeps China from actually trying to take Japan is, it's been known for centuries, is the waters between Japan and China. They have a certain amount of time to attack. Otherwise, they will get hit with, I think, typhoons. That little strait there to Japan is treacherous waters, is the word I'm looking for here. But if they were to, and the strait from China to Taiwan also has the same problem, but except it's smaller, right? So if they were to take Taiwan, then now they don't have to worry about the strait anymore. And now they're in open water, so they can attack whenever they want. They can attack Japan whenever they want. They can attack Singapore whenever they want. They can attack the Philippines. They can attack Korea. It's a strategic area that they want. It's also an area where they're, the Western ideology is also thriving. And China can't have that. China can't have the Western ideology thriving. They need communism to be the ultimate power and run by China. Oh, I hate China, by the way, guys. I don't hate the Chinese people. I just hate the Chinese communists, the Chi-coms. Anyways, here are some clips of China launching the missiles talked about in the article. And this is a tweet from Tala. Missile launches by Chinese ship during exercises near Taiwan this afternoon. Let's give it a watch. Jesus. Look at that, man. That's insane. That's scary. That's scary as fuck. And here's another tweet of beachgoers in China seeing a missile take off from a nearby hill. Jesus. Insane, huh? Yeah, that's something I don't want to see ever in my life, man. And it's getting pretty fucking dangerously close. Do I think there will be war on U.S. Soil? No. No. Am I military age? Yes. Am I military age? Yes, I am. The way our military's been going and how many people they kicked out of the military because they don't want to take the vaccine means that there's going to be possible drafts if World War III were to launch out. And that's just my opinion looking at the news. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. So don't fucking come and ding me, YouTube. But just saying, man. It's getting dangerously close to that, right? What makes this even more pressing is China currently has Taiwan surrounded. So here's a picture of that. And sorry for all these ads here, but it's kind of can't get rid of them. But the Chinese military has encircled the island with some training exercises taking place with Taiwan territorial waters. So see this? That's the strait I was talking about there. That's the easiest way for them to get Taiwan. They're only going to be able to take Taiwan is if they have an amphibian attack, which would probably be these beaches. And I guess they've been dredging the sand to get ready on their beaches, on Taiwan's beaches. They've been dredging the sand so that way they could come in with an amphibian attack. So that way they can get the boats landed and they're there on the shore and they don't get stuck. Look at that, dude. And you see, and that's how close the Japanese economic zone is as well. And for the audio listeners, sorry, sometimes I forget about you guys, man. What it is just this is a picture of Taiwan where you have where the coastline is adjacent to Taiwan's coastline by Taipei. And then on the other side of Taiwan, you have the Japanese economic zone, which is not very far at all. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 boats surrounding Taiwan in a military exercise. And I have quotation marks above my head here. So this is getting really close to being a full escalation of invasion, in my opinion. It's scary stuff, man. You know, I don't know what's going to happen, but if and when China tries to attack Taiwan, they will need to take it before the end of October. So, according to a book written by Ian Easton titled The Chinese Invasion Threats, and I just got a little excerpt here from the book. There was a person who kind of read the book and gave like their 9 things about what they thought was interesting from the book. Weather conditions suggest an April-October attack as most likely. So it says here, from late October until the middle of March, weather in the Taiwan Strait is incredibly difficult to navigate through. Heavy winds and typhoons affect waves, sometimes making them gigantic. In August and September, waves can get up to 14 meters high. I don't know what that is in freedom, meters. Anyways, an invasion would ideally be planned for when the tides hit their monthly peak. So the beaches are relatively smaller for soldiers to traverse. There are two ideal time windows for an invasion: late March until late April, as well as late September until the end of October. During these periods, winds are usually light and waves are low. And as we do this podcast, it is currently August, beginning of August. So September or October, that's next month. They're getting ready because they know that they know their window here, and they have 60 days to plan the best time of their window of attack. And it'll probably be middle of September, because that means that if they need to send additional forces because they weren't able to take the island right away, they can. Scary, man. It's coming, man. If this is the time, they're probably going to do it now. No, and on my other podcast that I used to do, we were talking about this, and I said it was going to happen last year, but it didn't. But this wasn't happening. They weren't being as aggressive as they are right now. I will be following this closely, and will be giving updates in the coming weeks and months, depending on how this all goes. And that ends the big lead segment.